A Plateau State High Court sitting in Jos has discharged and acquitted a former governor of the state, Jonah Jang, and Yusuf Pam, a former cashier in the office of the secretary to the Plateau State government, over the 6.3 billion naira corruption charges leveled against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The presiding judge, Justice Christian Dabub, who delivered the judgment, said the court did not find Jang and Pam guilty of any of the charges. Jang, a former governor of Plateau, and Yusuf Pam, a former cashier in the office of the secretary to the state government, have been standing trial over a 17-count charge bordering on the versification of and misappropriation state funds since May 4th, 2018. Reacting to the judgment, the defense counsel Mike Ozokome said that the court found no merit whatsoever in any of the 17-count charges. On his part, the EFCC counsel Oluwaleke Atolagbe said that they were yet to receive written copy of the judgment, adding that the commission will review the judgment and see whether there were grounds for the appeal. Well, to speak more on this, legal expert and public affairs analyst Ufeli joins me now. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, after 4 years of trial, the State High Court in Jos has discharged and acquitted the former governor of the state, Jonah Jang, of over the 6.3 billion naira corruption charges leveled against him by the EFCC. But more curiously is that the same former governor earlier this year appealed to President Buhari to grant executive pardon to the ex-governor of the state, Joshua Dariye, who was serving 10 years imprisonment for 1.126 billion naira fraud. Now, what do you make of all of this?
Well, for the case in question, for which judgment was delivered today, the defendant, former governor of Plateau State, Jonah Jang, was discharged and acquitted based on the charges preferred by EFCC against him before the courts in Plateau State. Now, the reasons for this discharge are fixed in law. They are actually legal issues. It is either the prosecution could not prove its case, or it was able to prove the charges it preferred against Jonah Jang, and then the charges failed accordingly. And that is why the court will have no other choice but to discharge and acquit him, Jonah Jang and one of his aides. Okay. Now, we keep saying this, that for the prosecution to succeed under our legal system, it is proved beyond reasonable doubt. And that proof beyond reasonable doubt must be so established by the prosecution that the law will look at the strength of the prosecution's case and not the weakness of the defendant's case. And the prosecution is enjoined to ensure that it does this effectively, because the law is that once doubt is created in the mind of the court, it must be resolved in favor of the accused person. And then talking about the Joshua Dariye's pardon, the former governor Jonah Jang was said to have recommended the former governor Joshua Dariye for that pardon. Well, it is what we see in our society. The elites have a way of taking themselves out of trouble when they are being charged of different kind of offenses. We've seen how Joshua Dariye was convicted by the court of competent jurisdiction because the charges preferred against him were all proved by the prosecution. And the prosecution was able to establish a prima facie case that inculpated Joshua Dariye, and he was convicted accordingly. Okay, but here is another former governor making recommendations for the president to pardon Joshua Dariye, which the president did in collaboration with the Council of States. So it is all for the elite. That is how our society is. In as much as the prosecution is expected to prove its case, it is also in the hands of the defense counsel to ensure that they're able to disprove the prosecution's case. In this case, the former governor seems to have pulled out of the hook of conviction because perhaps the prosecution was unable to make a good turn, proved his case beyond reasonable doubt. So in both ends, Joshua Dare, former governor, was freed. This is someone who had been convicted already. And then the current past governor, Jonah Jang, today is also being set free by the court of first instance. But it doesn't end here, you know. The prosecution have a right of appeal. And they have said that they are going to study the judgment and find the grounds of appeal here. So if they get to the appellate court and they're able to, you know, state why the court of first instance erred in law, then if the appeal court agrees, then the appeal court can turn it over until they get to the Supreme Court. When they get to the Supreme Court, whatever the Supreme Court say will be the final judgment. So I think it is not for the defense to celebrate wholesomely, given that the prosecution still have two layers of options of appeal. Until those two layers options of appeal are exhausted, it is not yet uhuru for the defense.
Expert and public affairs analyst Evans Ufeli, thank you very much for your time and your contribution.